Hi, Uncle Thor here. There's a thing about spirituality, and I've often said this world is as spiritual as any other. And that does fly in the face of the conventional monotheistic theology of this day and age, who believe that the spiritual is opposed to the material. That St. Augustine business of the city of the world and the city of spirit, and we believe otherwise. And the heathen belief is consistent with other pagan beliefs. We know this from reading some of the old writers, such as Celestus and such, that they believe the same in the old days. This world is as spiritual as any other. And the thing about spirituality is that when Christianity divorced spirituality from the material world, they come up with this thing where, well, if it's spiritual, it doesn't have to prove itself to us living in this world here today. The proof can be very subjective. An authority said it, a church said it, or a saint said it, and then a pope verified it. But where's the proof? They have things like they call original sin. And the whole concept of sin, that a physical wrong, is also a spiritual wrong. Where's the proof? Where's the proof? They talk of a heaven and hell. Where's the proof? Where's the proof of this purgatory? Where is the proof of this grace that is bestowed on people? And they say, oh, it comes in the afterlife. Well, that's very convenient. Because then, with that kind of thinking, they don't have to prove it. You're supposed to take it on blind faith. And that's stupid. Faith should have some kind of manifestation, some reason to show us why we should believe. That's the practical thinking. So if a thing is really spiritual, it's not going to just be spiritual or happen because someone says so. There has to be some outworking, some effect that we can perceive in some way. Maybe it's physical, maybe it's emotional, maybe it's mental, but there has to be some outcome. Years ago, I was taught something called the law of attraction, and part of it is basically like attracts like seeks like. I didn't like the law of attraction because according to what it said, your circumstances are a reflection on yourself. Change yourself, change your circumstances. And I thought, well, I'm Mr. Wonderful, and who has to change me? I did learn my lesson. But one of the things was I was working in a residence as a desk clerk. It was a part-time job. And there were about 50 people living in there. And some of them hung out together. And I worked there about a year and a half. And usually on weekends, sometimes extra nights during the week. And I got to know them. And I noticed that certain people hung out together. And over time, even though they may have seen very different people, there was always something. They had some commonality that drew them together. Maybe they had worked the same profession. Maybe they had come from the same neighborhood. Maybe they had gone through some similar situations. And it seemed to prove true. It was very consistent. But there were these two guys who just seemed incongruous, yet they always hung out together. And one was a fellow from Ireland, about 30 years old. And another one was a retired merchant sailor in his late 50s, maybe 60. And very different people. And yet these two guys were constantly hanging out, and I couldn't figure out why. I says, it's sort of like they're the exception that proves the rule. Well, in a lot of these towns and such, you always have the one gossip who knows the dirt, and I mean the real dirt. And we had one who worked with us, and he came into work the one night, and I says, I noticed that this guy Bill and this guy Seamus hang out together all the time. I can't figure out why. They seem like two different people. He says, oh no, I found out. They're into something very freaky. And it seems that while all the superficial stuff was different, this one little thing was the thing that attracted them together. So again, the spiritual belief, this law of attraction, is a thing that you say does prove out we can see it in action. And that goes for anything else spiritual too. The runes, they say, are spiritual. Oh, it's a principle. But we can see their manifestation in the physical world. We can see and understand Urus as a principle of strength, as a principle of wildness. We can see Thor's as that outburst, that three-sided axe. We can see with Fae, cattle are herded and how cattle are an asset. So we see many outworkings of the runes in our everyday life. So something spiritual has a practical manifestation. And that's what we need to do. We need to demand, we need proof. We may not get proof right away. Proof may come in time. But in order to say a thing really is, we need proof. Scientists do it all the time. They have a lot of hypotheses. A lot of things are hypothetical. But take Einstein's relativity. That was a hypothesis. But it did work out. In fact, if it wasn't for relativity, we wouldn't have GPS. In order for those satellites to work accurately, they have to take into account relativity to make their calculations, or otherwise they would be miles off. So again, there's the proof that the theory is right. And as science expands, proof about particles and particle physics and such. Same thing with spiritual things. Proof. Testing, making sure that this isn't just something we believe, but there is an outworking for us. Blind faith doesn't work. The real spiritual faculty is reason, because anything in this universe can be understood through reason given enough time. So it goes to say, if you put your faith in reason, you usually get good results. And if you also demand proof, you never end up with a pig in a poke. This is Uncle Thor. Have a good one.